Hey everyone, good morning. So, obviously this has been all over, the news feeds and social media. So, I figured I would go ahead and do a quick video on it, even though it's a sad one. So, this is in I think in Lahaina, Maui. So they had the fire that rolled in there. I guess they didn't have much warning. There were some like sirens or whatever that were set up, but they didn't work for whatever reason. Maybe because of the heat. They're looking into that, but they didn't have much warning. So these folks, I'll go ahead and play through it, but yeah, we'll see.
Team of 90 personnel and
First off, I mean, just look at the place. Look at it. It's absolutely devastated. There's nothing really left. There's a couple of stone structures, I guess, that are left. But everything's pretty much just wiped out. It looks like, something like apocalyptic, like you would see in like a sci-fi flick or something. That's what it looks like. I mean, it's just pure destruction. Everything just kind of burnt down to the ground, ashes. A couple of little buildings here. There's like a boat that I guess went down over there, but you can see everything, right? I mean, there's a few trees that made it somehow. It's amazing, you know. But yeah, so just absolutely wiped out. So it's you know you, you never know when things like this are going to happen, and you shouldn't assume that we, you, me, all of us, like, you shouldn't assume you have more time because you never know when things like this are going to happen. And even if things like this don't happen, right? Even if you die of natural causes, even if you make it to like 80, 90 years old, whatever the max lifespan is, typical. At some point in time, like, your body is going to expire and you're going to move on. And what happens next is going to be based on how you lived your life and your mentality, what you had in your head, the kind of person you actually were. Um, so just understand that, these vessels that we're in, they're term limited, right? You're going to, your soul is forever, but your body is term limited. These bodies fall apart either through natural causes, accidents, things like this, right? Mother Nature type events, catastrophic events. But either way, no matter what, you know, I'm coming out of this body, you're coming out of your body. So you want to protect yourself because you don't know what's coming next. You don't know what the next leg of your journey is. And the only thing that's going to protect you and make sure you have a wonderful eternity is how you live your life today, right? Is there hate in your heart? Are you charitable to people? Are you evil? Are you violent? Like, all of those things will determine, what happens to you next. So just keep that in mind because you don't know how much time you have left. You don't know. You could walk out the door today. You could trip and fall over and hit your head. You could get in a car accident. You could be involved in something like this, right? Earthquake, flood, wildfire, who knows? Any number of things. Any number of things could happen, right? Do you think these people right here, I think it's like 96 people or something they found so far, and I think they're still looking for 1,000 people are just missing. So I don't know what that means. I would assume by now you would have made contact if you weren't killed by this event, but I don't know. Like, I don't know that local area, so I'm not sure. But I'm sure these people, these at least 96 for now, right? These people didn't wake up that day and think, oh, I'm going to die today. There's going to be some huge fire and I'm going to die. Probably none of them thought that. They all thought I had more time. You know, I've heard like children were killed in this. Like, it's terrible. So you figure there's all different ages, right? There were young people who were thinking, oh, I'm invincible. I've got, I'm going to live forever. I got the rest of my life. I mean, your soul does live forever, but they're thinking, oh, I got the rest of my life. They had no idea they were going to die that day. So if they needed more time to like get right with God and become the best version of themselves, the version that God expects them to be, they probably thought they had more time. But you never know how much time you have. And these people, they don't have any more time. The ones that are at least confirmed gone, right? The 90, 96, I think. They don't have any more time. So whatever they've done in their lives, that's it. They don't have any other time to like, you know, get right and live within God's guidelines. They're out of time, at least in these bodies, and now they've moved on. So hopefully they lived, righteous lives, and God will take care of them. So, but that's their journey that they're on, and they're no longer with us, in these current states. So, yeah, just as you go out today into the world, and you're trying to live, with godly principles, just keep that in mind that you don't know how much time you have. Maybe you'll live to ripe old age of 100. Who knows? But maybe not. So just don't make assumptions that you've got plenty of time. Like, I'll be wild now. I'll do whatever I want. I don't really care about God's directions. Whatever God tells me to do to protect me. I'll deal with that later. I just want to have fun. I just want to go get a job and make a lot of money and like acquire stuff. I want boats and cars. I just want to have fun. I just want to go out there and have fun. I don't want to worry about helping people and doing what's right and living within, godly guidelines, which are difficult, right? It's not easy because in this world, if you live by those guidelines, you're going to seem strange. You may not have as many friends because you're not out, just chasing fun, right? You're like, I just want to go out. I just want to go boating and riding motorcycles and doing all this stuff and acquiring things. I want to have all kinds of jewelry and you spend your life just acquiring things, just literally chasing money and acquiring things. And guess what? Where are all their things right now? They're gone. I mean, look at this. There's nothing left there. So you spend your whole life acquiring things, like all this stuff I have here, all this wonderful stuff. One day this body will expire and I'll lose it all. So I don't really care about it because you're going to lose everything you have. Whatever things you have in your life, family heirlooms, whatever, cars, clothing, jewelry, you're going to lose all of it because you'll expire eventually, right? So don't spend your whole life, worried about what you're collecting, because you're going to lose it all. So the only thing you'll get to keep is your soul. Everything else, you give back. So you want to make sure your soul ends up in a really nice place. So you should focus on, living a very holy life because that's going to give you protection in the long term. Not protections like you would see in this world, right? By chasing money and getting like, a big house, and car, and whatever, nice 401k, like all that stuff. All that you're giving back. You'll be leaving that here. So we'll go through the video, but I mean, just, definitely, take time to pray. Pray to God to give you wisdom and guidance and, put it in your heart to live within God's directions. Like I said, like everything is in God's hands. We're here for the short term. We're temporary. These vessels are temporary, and we're here to learn. So, make sure you learn. God gives us directions and guidance for a reason. It's to protect us. The same way a child is protected by their parent. Your parent gives like rules and regulations to your children, not to be a jerk. You do it to help them, to protect them, because you want to make sure that their future is wonderful. All right? That's why you do it. So we'll go through some of this video just to see. But
20 cadaver dogs have been searching through the wreckage of...
I mean, look at it. There's nothing left. I don't know how it'd take years, I guess, to rebuild this.
Lahaina, and they have made some progress. At the weekend, just 3% of the town had been searched. Now, 3% of the town had been
I
searched.
think they said
Now
like
the
a
figure is
thousand people are still
25%.
outstanding.
The problem has been identifying the human ashes left behind. Over 1,000 people remain unaccounted for.
Yeah, a thousand.
We actually have 3 positive identifications from fingerprints.
Yeah, so they have 3 IDs so far, fingerprints, which means that I'm guessing the vast majority of these people, essentially, like because of the heat, they just, I guess, dust or particles. I'm not sure, but yeah, so they've literally gone back to dust. But it doesn't matter because their body is not who they were. Their soul is now out of their body. And that's one thing you have to realize is like when you look in the mirror and you see, yourself, that's not you. That's just your vessel. Your soul is in there, but what you're looking at here, is just a vessel. That's all it is. So these people have essentially turned, back into dust, some of them, because of the heat, right? And it's terrible. But at the same time, you need to realize that they're gone, right? Their bodies died, and your body will die too. So don't ever forget that because we never know how much time we have left.
3. So I don't have more than 3. So there's 96 that we don't have fingerprints.
That's 96 of the ones they found, right? They still have to get through, I think, 1,000 people are missing. So you figure 3 out of those 96, so the vast majority of the people that potentially may have already passed on are going to be in like their bodies are in a very fragile state. So I would assume that identification is going to be quite difficult, especially if people are like walking around in the area, right? Because people get cremated, so you understand like how the body can change forms.
So we can keep going deep, like you understand, So just I'm trying to be as reverent as I can, but once we get a positive,
It's difficult in a situation like this, like, right?
we have to contact the family.
The process of
And I hope God gives peace to everyone, the families, the friends, like the relatives, people like waiting to hear back to see what happened to the people they knew. I hope God gives them peace, and I hope they have a relationship with God strong enough that they'll be able to withstand this, right? Because they'll understand, from their relationship with God, that these bodies are temporary. Your soul is eternal, but your body is not. So hopefully their relationship with God is strong enough that it'll give them peace, that they can make it through this. To know that their loved ones, even though they died, they are not dead. Their bodies are no longer in use, but they are not dead. They've just moved on.
forming relatives of those identified will begin on Tuesday. Residents of Lahaina, though, are expressing their frustration at not being allowed to return to assess the damage themselves.
Our temple is, is a historical site, and we do have some things that I.
And that's rough, right? It's her temple, I guess, like a religious temple. Again, if you look at the history, like how many structures are still here from like 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, a million years ago? Like how many of those structures are still here? Over time, most structures go away. If given enough time, most structures are going to be gone. They go away, right? So don't worry so much about structures. God is eternal. Our souls are eternal. Buildings, cars, building, trucks, like things like that. Like none of that stuff is eternal. None of that stuff is eternal. So you worry about what is eternal, which is your soul, right? Your house, your temple, your car, all those things can be replaced if you even need to. But, try to live small because we've only got one planet and there's only so many resources. But, yeah, just focus on what actually matters, which is your soul, which is eternal. Don't worry about the things that are going to go away, like your body and your car and your building and your 401k and all that stuff. All of that goes away. your family heirlooms, you lose it all. You're going to lose everything. The only thing you get to keep is your soul over the long term, you know what I mean? So focus on that. That's where your focus should be. Where are you going next? Are you living within God's guidance? Are you worried about dying? Right? Honestly, if you have a good relationship with God and you're living within God's guidance, you shouldn't even be worried about dying because you're going to be taken care of. You're good to go. Right? All you're doing is moving on. Let's go. Let's get out of here. That's right. So if you're right with God and you're living with holy principles, death shouldn't concern you. Right? Why are you concerned? Like, you got good things ahead of you. I'm going to die. Okay, let's go.
That are made out of metal and stone, that are still remaining, and I just want to make sure that
They're remaining for now. Right? Check back in 10,000 years. See where those buildings are.
we are able to secure those things, and we've already dealt
Can't
with so much
secure any of that
heartache.
stuff.
It's just like to have to deal with more heartache on top of that. It's just, I would like to be able to secure it, like the things that are left.
But it's because authorities believe that human remains are distributed widely throughout the rubble, access remains restricted.
They have to be very careful not to disrupt any of the homes there. So for those people who have walked into Lahaina because they really wanted to see, know that they are very likely walking on Evie, as the chief of police said the other day.
Yes, I guess because of the heat, their bodies are probably, some of them are probably like in ashes. So, but like I said, if your loved ones were impacted by this and you're finding ashes, your loved one, they're not in the ashes, right? Their soul is already out of that body. They've already moved on. So don't worry about these. These you're going to shed no matter what. No matter what happens. Whether you die in this fire, whether you fall over, whether you get in a car accident, have a heart attack, whatever the case may be, these you will eventually shed.
That's why we're being so careful.
The Maui police chief says he's hopeful that 85 to 95% of the some 2,200 damaged structures in Lahaina will have been searched by the weekend, although he says that timeline may slip. The message has remained consistent from authorities over the last several days.
It's interesting, isn't it? If you look at it this looks like a total wasteland, what happened to it. But then you see the beautiful blue water and the mountains and things, in the distance there. So it's interesting, right? The things that God made are still there and they're still beautiful and they're amazing. The things that we made got wiped out in one day, or however long the fire took. But we spent, imagine how much time and effort we spent making all that, and it got absolutely destroyed in no time at all. But the things that God made, those beautiful things, they're still there. And they'll stand for, a very long time.
Expect the death toll to rise. Shea Britansi, Al Jazeera, Lahaina, Maui.
So, sorry it's not a more positive video. But, hopefully this video will make you realize, what's important in this life. What things you should be chasing, like your eternity, and what things don't really matter, right? Chasing cars and houses and 401ks and things like that. Yeah, you can chase those, but if you chase those so much and you forget about God and you forget about living a holy life, and then you end up dying one day, well, what are you going to do then? Because you don't have any more time in this body to get older and get more mature and figure out that you want to live a holy life. You don't have any more time. You're out of time. So I would just ask that, you reflect on your life today and think, as far as holy principles, right? Are you living a holy life? If you died today, would you be concerned about where you're going next? Or are you living a life in such a way that you're good? You're I'm going to die today. Cool. Let's go. Let's do this. Are you that strong in your faith and your relationship with God that you could die today and you would have no concerns about where you're going. Die today? Okay, let's go. Are you that strong in your faith? And is your relationship with God that strong? Are you living a holy life? Are you living a holy life? Are you helping people? Are you helping others? Are you helping the planet? Are you helping the animals? Like, are you doing God's work, or are you working for yourself? So you might want to ask yourself that, because we never know. We never know what day is our last day, but you can guarantee yourself that these temporary vessels you're in, you will shed them. So take the time to live a holy life, because you never know what day is your last day. And even if you don't know what day is your last day, someday will be your last day in these bodies. So live a righteous, holy life. So when your day comes, you're not worried. You're going to die? Cool, let's go. That's when your faith is that strong, you'll be able to endure events like this. And yes, they'll be sad. And yes, you'll miss people. But, if you knew those people that you lost, right? If you knew those were holy people, they lived holy lives, they were good with God, you wouldn't be worried, because you would know they just moved on, that's it. And you know they'd be taken care of for eternity. So, that's it. Sorry, it's a sad situation. But the only protection you have is to live a holy life within God's principles. Be an awesome person. That's it. All right. Have a good day.